What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be showcasing the deck that I'm using, which as you can see happens to feature the new adventure cards that we have on Master Duels, along with DPE of course. But if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So as you can see, or as you're about to see, the pretty broken thing about the adventure stuff is the fact that Aqua can kind of get this whole adventure token stuff online, which as you'll see is pretty much 4 cards on field, while also having the ability to play with your other cards in hand, which I happen to have Fusion Destiny and the Droplet. I already had the Griffin in hand, so I didn't get to search it unfortunately. But as you'll see, I'm going to make DPE, Griffin Rider. I have the protection by battle from Fateful Adventure for the token, and I have the Draco back equipped to the token to make that live. But my opponent will have the Lightning Storm, which I'm going to let go through because I have no reason to really fear it, as my opponent is going to special summon the Dawnwalker. As we see, he's on Synchro, and he's going to go directly into the Chaos Ruler, which I'm going to Ash here, and it's kind of going to end his turn unfortunately, as he doesn't have follow-up, and he's going to go into the battle phase. Now, my opponent is going to try to attack over one of my monsters, but I think that what he sees here, as he misclicks on the Griffin Rider, is the fact that I don't think that he could have done anything else to out this board with the follow-up I had of the Celestial draws. On to the next replay, and you'll see I actually happen to open the Called by the Grave here, which it is at multiples, and I do play Crossout also, so I guess that helps, but it just goes to show one of the problems of this format. Do you have it or do you not? And because I had it, I'm going to be able to go full combo, which if I didn't have it, my opponent would have stopped me from going full combo. But as you see, I already have the Artifact Scythe in hand, so I don't even need to go into Dagda, and I'm going to play my turn exactly that way, as I'm going to go into the Cherubini here, and the reason I'm going to send the Water Enchantress off of the Cherubini is because I already have the Fog Blade to revive the Phantom Knights here, and I can always bait and Ash if I need to with the there, especially since the adventure cards are kind of new. You can take advantage of people that may not know what they do, so if you can do something that can trick both old and new players, I think it's worth doing it. But you'll see that my opponent is going to Gamma the Levier, and that would have mattered if I didn't have the Scythe. But unfortunately I do have the Scythe, as you'll see I'm going to use the boots here in order to search the Shade, and now instead of going into Rusty, I'm going to go into the Verte to go into DPE, and put my opponent on an answer for Scythe or else lose the game, because they know I have Right in my hand for the next turn. So I'm going to use the Verte, which will allow me to send the Celestial and the Dasher along with the Fusion Destiny for the DPE, and from here I can set the Scythe and pass. Now, the reason I'm going to shotgun the Scythe here, and I think that this is something that you should probably do in Master Duels, just go ahead and shotgun the Scythe, because people might start maining Dark Ruler in stuff like Flunder, make go second decks for adventure boards and stuff like that, because Dark Ruler in singles might actually be good against the adventure stuff, and people might not expect the shotgunned DPE, which allows you to get the Scythe regardless. As you see, my opponent had the Super Poly, but he didn't activate it first, thinking I wouldn't use my DPE. As for the next replay here, you're going to see that I'm going to make a slight misplay, and this was just me kind of autopiloting because I've had a couple of long nights from work, and I'm probably going to have short sleep again going into tomorrow, but you'll see that I'm going to use the adventure token stuff, and what I should have done here was normal summon the gloves first in order to add the Fateful Adventure so that I could get it to hand, but at the same time I don't necessarily think it matters since I had to discard the Torn Scales anyways. But you'll see that I'm going to send the cloak off of the gloves and then get the Torn Scales effect, use the cloak in order to get the boots. Now I'm going to get the boots to special summon itself, go into Levier. Levier can get me into one of my banished monsters, which will then be used in order to go to Verte, because I already have the Scythe and don't need the Dagda. So now I'm just going to summon the DPE. I'm going to add a Fogblade with the boots. And again, this is the craziness that you get to see firsthand with the adventure stuff. Not only do you have to deal with the end board of the decks you were seeing before, but now you have the added protection of Griffin, the battle protection from Fateful Adventure for the token. It's just more cards to deal with overall. As you see, I'm going to attempt to Scythe my opponent here, and believe it or not, again, Scythe is not going to resolve. Through this rank up from Platinum 5 to rank 4, I didn't resolve Scythe at all, or I'm going to go into the main phase, or my opponent's going to go into the main phase, and I'm going to Fogblade the Aluber here, which my opponent misplays here because he lets this resolve when he could have used the Branded in red in order to dodge that, which I'm going to chain Max C to it anyways, and there was no way that my opponent had an out to this entire board regardless, and this is kind of what I mean by Despia is pretty done. Even with Albaz being able to fuse your opponent's monsters, if you have the negations, if you have the amount of follow-up on top of that, you can waste resources with the Super Poly and the Droplet, but I'm here with a DPE. I have a 2800 Griffin that he can't get over. He's about to discard his last card for Twin Twisters, get over my token, but as you see, I have DPE and 4 monsters. All he has is Q, and I can revive DPE, and all I have to do now is bring back the DPE and go into access code after shuffling away with Unicorn. As you see, I'm going to use the Levier's effect. He's going to chain the Q, but it's not going to matter at all as I have the access code access, and my opponent is going to scoop, as you'll see in a moment, after I use the cloak effect, use the 3 monsters to go into Unicorn, discarding the scales, which is where my opponent is going to kind of see what's going on here. And that's basically game. And then this was my rank up game. I actually didn't open too great, and I have no idea what my opponent opened. But I'm going to use the Foolish Burial. He's going to Max C. I'm going to Ash that so that I could keep the called by. And then once I get into my adventure engine, I'm going to discard the Shade, as you'll see, off the Fateful. And I mean, it's really not to spoil anything, or it's going to spoil the whole match because it's a short one. But as you'll see, the minute that I add the Griffin off the Fateful, as I special summon the token, use the Fateful Adventure, and my opponent's gonna scoop here as soon as he sees that I'm on Phantom Knights, and use the Griffin Rider. And onto the deck profile, you'll see I'm on 3 Max C, 2 Cloak, 3 Boots, 1 Gloves, 3 Ash, 2 Scales, 2 Aqua, 1 Celestial, 1 Scythe, 1 Dasher, 1 Griffin, 1 HFD, 1 Foolish, 1 Rhoda, 2 Fusion Destiny, 2 Rights, the 1 Draco back, the 1 Fateful Adventure, the 2 Called Bys, the 3 Crossouts, the 2 Droplets, the 1 Shade, and the 3 Fogblades. Onto the extra deck I have the 1 DPE, the 1 Levier, the 2 Break Sword, the 1 Downer, the 1 Zeus, the Link Spider, the Almirage, the Cherubini, the Mask, the Verte, the Unicorn, the Rusty, the Appaloosa, and the Access Code. to round out the deck profile. So, to give you some of my thoughts on the new update, as you can see, Small World was one of the cards actually included into the pack. And while Evil Twins get a nice buff here, it's not necessarily too much of a difference with the power level of the adventure stuff. I think if one thing showed in the games that I'm putting into this replay is that when the adventure token stuff is online and you have the ability to get into your other engines, the boards are too insane. And Evil Twins rely on their normal summons at times, so it's a good deck that unfortunately is hindered by the fact that so many decks can run the adventure token stuff. As you see, we also got all the flu stuff besides the Advent, which was released in Battles of Chaos in the TCG. But yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave down below. If you made it this far into the video, I thank you for watching. It's Boned, signing out.